Hello and welcome to the demo of Whispering Tome. So, in this game, this is sort of a game that's interesting because it's not really within my usual style to play these types of games. It's a reading game, which I guess I do read visual novels, but I digress. So, in this game, you have to read a vast library of untold tales. These tales can range from maybe forgotten past to prophecies that have yet to be told. Basically, tales that span from the past to the present to the future. Basically, millennia of basically humanity's eras. Now, as you explore these stories, how did I butcher that? As you explore these stories, the narrative will slowly change because, it's the Whispering Tome. Things are never quite as static as you may be led to believe. And these seemingly unrelated stories, who knows? Maybe they might be related. But yeah, without further ado, grab a cup of coffee and let's get going with the demo of Whispering Tome. You can read stories by clicking on their headings. Click the text of the ribbon on the upper corner to return to this index. Okay. A lonely grave being forgotten has been celebrated for the first time. None was invited. Mummy's opinion, they have binded the thought. You're missing a T there. The thoughts, fears, regrets, and ideas within flesh, so they too shall be buried. So we have two stories within for the demo. Okay. Without a name, without a date, and without an owner, who could have known that I would weep at the side of a grave that I didn't know, and the wind would be my companion with falling leaves of a willow tree, first and last visitor. If you're not lucky enough, your path leads you to this track at the hill. You will see a grave after you pass the fields and the wide wood. It doesn't catch one's eye because the willow tree overshadows it. Don't waste your time looking for other graves. That place is not a graveyard. That is a single, unnamed, and alone grave. I would suggest you to go there while it's raining or there are clouds in the sky. The sight of a lone grave is sorrowful enough by its own. Though it was midsummer when I first saw the grave, and it was still woeful. That's right. Yeah, it's woe is me. Okay, yeah, woeful to see such a thing. Still, let me warn you, save your tears to the graves of your loved ones. It was after 2 hours that the sun's scorching heat had passed and saddening rosiness of the evening sky was about to come a couple of hours later. When I first arrived at the hilltop, I saw only the willow tree. I was greeted by an awe-inspiring wind and the shiver which was full of complaint coming from the willow tree. Also inspiring is, an awe in spring? No, it's yeah, okay, that's misspelled. An awe-inspiring. So it's missing an I. It was like the willow tree that was covering the grave with its branch. That's also the wrong it is. That's a contraction of it is, so it's without the apostrophe. I know I'm being an English teacher right now. I'm really sorry. You probably didn't want to read this, but you probably didn't want to hear me being an English teacher, so I'm not an English teacher, just so we're clear. Its branches, like it was trying to hide it from unwanted eyes, was condemning me from being there. Why would someone visit after all those years? Or was it happy that someone had finally visited that grave? Who knows? As a human being, I was too attached to words and letters to communicate. I wasn't good at understanding the language of the wind, trees, or the sky. So I will not accuse the tree wrongly any longer. Really, why was I there? My path wasn't near to that place. None's path would. Did someone describe that path to me? No. Yes, I remember. I did choose that road. Because it was higher than my surroundings, it was trying to find my way. That's the wrong den. Because den in this instance would be an because it's a comparison. So I'm so sorry for correcting. First, thought is also wrong. First, I thought that I saw some smooth and straight piece of rock, which I can sit and rest for a while on it when I reached the hilltop. That was the reason for me for getting real. Wait, am I reading this wrong? No, that's right. Hold up. Oh wait, I don't know why my mind is like being manga coded, because I was like, wait, should I read it from the right to the left? I don't know why my mind was in manga form, but sorry about that. That was the reason for me to getting relaxed and slowed while I was approaching there. The reason for me to stop completely was seeing that this was actually a stone placed for marking the border of the grave. It had the same smooth stones on all four sides. They were covered with a mossy, moisty layer, and they were 20 centimeters above the ground. The grave itself had 1.5 meters of length. Was this a grave of a child or someone very short? Don't say that, that's just rude. Someone who had loved ones and someone loved. One could secretly wish that this person was not as lonely right now while he or she was living. At its top right side, there was an unsophisticated gravestone which doesn't even have any writings on it. Whoever it was, whatever it means to whom, they didn't even try to write a name on the gravestone. What could it mean to not even have a name on your gravestone? Not a lovely word, not a name, not a date. But here was a grave and a gravestone made for him or her. At least they did think that it's worth that much. A piece of cloth was tied on the gravestone. It was darkened with the time's mercilessness. I wonder which color this cloth was before. Was it carrying any meaning? Or where did it come from? Where'd it go? Kanajo? I'm sorry. Was it from a gift which came from a loved one's dress? If it's like that, lone unnamed grave was not tragic enough. Of course, wherever and whenever you see a grave, it affects you. But this was different. Being buried there alone in a place far away out of sight and out of mind, without a single draw on your gravestone, with a piece of cloth which its meaning had faded by the time's ruthless and fair effect tied on your gravestone. I'm sure that if you've... Oh yeah, that changed. I'm sure that if you would have visited there, you would too wish that the owner of the grave shouldn't know how lonely his or her grave looks. Just write their grave. You don't have to write his or her all the time. I wasn't sure how, but I knew I was the first visitor of this grave. I knew somehow that it was lonely here for long years. It was getting older with an orphan melancholy. The willow tree which was covering and protecting it was doing it like it was its duty to protect it. Like I said before, I do not know much about the behavior of the trees. I stood there and listened to the wind. I stood there and watched the grave while it was getting older. Leaves had fallen and hid it, and those leaves had become earth in my thoughts. No, the sadness was not present because of the sunset, for I was sure it was sad and lonely there during sunrise too. The reason was being there. This grave should be alone and sad. This was the state which was properly fitting to it. None should have been there and named it. That's why I left, with the weight of my sorrowful soul. My trip down from the hill was quick. That grave, that nameless, dateless, and forlorn grave will forever be alone there. None's path will lead there anymore. Not a single tear from loved one will fall on the soil. None will plant flowers around it. Sorrowful, but somehow a noble solitude. A peaceful and alone grave which is unique, without peers and not seeking any understanding. A grave that doesn't need anything, not even visitors, or even its existence being known. Still, in case your path does lead you there, if you climb the hill after passing the fields and the broad wood, turn back when you see the malcontent willow tree. How do people read this much without being... Oh my god. All the more so, if there are black clouds on the sky or it's raining, if you have a weight on your heart and you're longing for something, turn back without even glaring to the willow tree. There's nothing you would find there that is relevant to happiness. Huh. First and last visitor. Huh. Does it change? No, that's the same story. Huh. Mummy's opinion. What would he think if he was there to see the modern world? 12,800,012 visitor. BC, before Christ. 12,079, moment of death. Illness always finds a way. If it has found me even though I wasn't meddling with common people or let anyone near to me for 4 years, it can find me. Oh, it can find anyone. I don't know why I read that. Of course, I'll be lying if I were to say I wasn't offended. I should have been privileged. I am a pharaoh, as my father and his fathers before. I am waiting curiously that which reasoning will be used to explain my death because of the same disease that kills a beggar. I've started not to feel my body. There are no signs of any pain, but can still see and hear my surroundings, despite the fact that my eyes are closed. My soul must have been released from my body, but it shouldn't have been this way. After I've been mummified, while I'm being escorted to my tomb, the priest should have touched my mouth and eyes during the ritual so I could see, speak, and hear and eat in afterlife. But I'm able to see and hear already, even though I can't talk. It shouldn't be like this. There's something wrong, but there's nothing I can do besides watching and hearing. There's no smell, no feeling, nor pain, only images and sounds. My daughters Tia and Hennemeyer are weeping together, holding their heads down. They were loving me as I was loving them, but I think a woman's love is deeper than a man's. It's like the sadness in their glances is taking my non-existent breath away. I will not see their getting married or my grandchildren. This is sad, yes, but seeing them as young and far away from death as they are now while I'm crossing the river of death is taking a load off my heart. In my mind, there are memories of blurred regrets about my daughters. I should have spent more time with them. I should have shown my love to them more oftenly. Oh, how clear death made my vision now. My dear wife is not by my side. She must have fallen sick because of my death. I hope she gets well soon, so I could see her before I'm buried into my tomb. There's 2 hours in that buried. Even though there was no place to her or her love in my life, which has been spent with wars, I always loved her. Or I wonder whether these were excuses that I repeat to myself. It appears so. I'll remember her with regret too. My son Ramses is crying right beside me, but he is not crying. Oh, he's standing beside me. He is proud and strong, as he should be. I have raised him as a soldier. He learned not to fear death, which means a just departure from this world, or get sad because of it. My faith for him to empower and expand our reign is absolute. I hope that these ambitions that I've inspired to him did not make him forget the things I've taught to him about science and arts. He seems pretty strong even while watching his father's death. It's really heartbreaking to see our loved ones cry. I'm really happy that I didn't see my son crying in his age. I was laying sick in my room for nearly 2 months, even though my loved ones tried to give me strength by their words. I was able to sense that they were preparing the event of my death. So, did I prepare? What was to prepare for? Immortality is my birth and ancestral right. I have complete trust in my loved ones and my high priest for perfectly preparing me to my voyage to the afterlife. Besides, they have no other chance. My son, who will succeed me, has to fulfill these preparations perfectly in order to take my place. Our culture, our law, our faith demands that. It's surprising to see the things which were sure as stone while I was alive are now becoming the source of doubt in my death, another unpredictable effect of death. They've kept me in my bedroom for some time after they've cleaned my I almost say cleansed and cleaned, so I kind of mixed both words together. After they've cleaned my body and put my best clothes on me, Since my battle with this illness that continued for months have weakened me horribly, it took a while for them to bring back the formidable looks of the warrior pharaoh, but with the correct materials, they have succeeded. By putting some support under my bed in my bedroom, they made it look higher and likened it to some sort of an altar. They were going to keep me here for one more day, so my kin and the notable people who have traveled all the corners from my dynasty could visit me. BC 1279, mummification. I've never been present during the mummification process of my father or any other persons, so I didn't even see this process. Of course, I know its details, but living it for yourself is another kind of experience. As for my last will, they will take my body to Osirion. It was already Osirion's purpose to serve me as a worthy tomb, one of my greatest monuments, but before that, I've been brought to the temple which was closer to my palace, and the first phase of my mummification will take place in there. Together with me, my high priest, another 3 priests, and 7 apprentices have entered the temple. Since the mummification process is one of the holiest rituals according to our belief, it was not an experience for undeserving eyes. But essentially, I was aware that I was being carried into a slaughterhouse. Still, the fact that this was necessary to my ascend is causing the feeling of physical dread to diminish. After all, I wasn't going to feel any pain. And so, if you guys aren't really familiar with the mummification process, it's basically they get their organs extracted, and yeah, they get placed in jars. Yeah. Different colors of candles are burning around the stone table, which they've laid on me inside the main hall of the temple. They're illuminating inside with a spiritual dimness. I can also see that there are incenses lit around me, but I don't know how they smell, since I have no feeling of scent. This must be a good thing, because I have doubts which suggest that not all scents in the future will be pleasant. I want to feel the old chill of the stone table when I was first laid on it, but I couldn't. Missing the cold. Weird. The priests removed my clothes and rubbed some medicines and balms on my body while chanting some prayers. My sight is still stuck with my body. I can't pull my head up and see what is happening because I'm laying down on my back. But when I see the blade tools which were coming and going toward the area of my belly, I understood that the mummification has begun. It is going to take a long time, approximately 2 months, before they mummify me and put me in my tomb. They had to take all the moisture in my body, and for that, they were going to cover my body for many times with many different balms and weights. They've removed my eyes too, put them into jars, and put glass orbs into my eye sockets, but my sight still didn't go away. I can still see, so it seems that seeing is a skill which is related to my soul, not to my body. But it shouldn't be like this. This does not suit to anything I've learned or believed. It has been 55 days since, and the mummification is still continuing. I'll remember the details because I frequently start to fall into my thoughts lately. It is really astounding to see the ones who have performed the mummification could still be able to keep their reverence. They are really faithful individuals indeed, because the things which have been done to my body differ only a little from a butcher's work. I wonder how they would feel if they were to know my thoughts on this, or what they were actually feeling right now. Were they still thinking that I'm their gods incarnate after opening and seeing what's inside my body? It is taking a very long time for them to cover me with linen lacings covered in special mixtures. After rolling every one of my limbs with linen, they are waiting for 8 hours and moving on to the next limb. With this pace, it took nearly 2 weeks to cover all my body. Oh my god, this is so long. Details of this process were written on Ra's golden book of life, but I've never bothered to look at them while I was still alive. Before finishing my mummification completely, they've put me inside a golden sarcophagus which had been prepared earlier. The face with magniloquent. I don't even know if that's an actual word. Magniloquent details on the golden sarcophagus, which symbolizes the power and immortality. Which symbolizes power and immortality, will be going to be. Wait, hold up. Is going to be my face in the afterlife. So it was true, because I can still see and hear after they fully put me inside the golden sarcophagus. Just as I expected, this is my new form. Yes, they've put me inside the sarcophagus before finishing the mummification completely, because as far as I remember, the remaining part of the mummification is going to take place in my tomb chamber in Osarion, which will be my eternal resting place of my mortal body. BC 1279, burial. While the sarcophagus that houses my mortal body is being transferred to the temple of Osarion, it has been carried on a cart hauled by slaves. I was able to hear the people around on the balconies and walls while I was laying on the cart and see them too. Most of them were crying, and they should have been crying. They were loving me. No, this is not actually true. Why am I still telling this lie to myself? What is the meaning of keep fooling myself anymore? What is the meaning of fooling myself anymore? Of lying myself? They were going to get whipped if they were not shown if they did not show their love to their ruler. That is why they were crying. Of course, maybe there are some of them who are crying devoutly because they've lost their status because of my death. But even in death, the exception was proving the rule. Death was not exception. I am not exception. I have not read this much out loud in so long. Okay. I watched the sky constantly during our slow and dull travel to the temple after we left the city. There were no clouds, and gazing to clear blue sky was calming. The place where I will be ascending, the afterlife that I was going to travel, is behind these skies. But a single thought that suddenly appeared in my mind had terrified me. I was going to be put inside the temple soon, and after the mummification, the entrance to the temple was going to be closed off. Why is it always I'm not sure if it's always missing like a letter. Like I don't know if that's like on purpose or not. Cause like closed off is missing a letter. Granite is also missing a letter. Every time they write thought is missing a T. I'm not sure if that's like on purpose. With granite blocks permanently, that means darkness, darker than my soul. How long will my ascent take? I'll leave this body immediately after the mummification process, or have to stay inside the temple in the dark for a while before that. Written and verbal sources of our belief is not mentioning that part, but I didn't think about it to ask. But I didn't think to ask about it to a priest while I was still alive. But the reasonable deduction was always that I would ascend right after my Try reading all mummification like 20 times. Mummification after the prayers are finished. Yes, it should be that way. How long could I endure to gaze into the darkness anyway? Temple of Osarion, my masterpiece. We are not in yet, but I know it looks just as majestic as it looks from the inside. I was present at nearly every phase of its construction. Like my son Ramses, this will also be my legacy to the ones who remain. 85 of my slaves had I know I said cried, died during its construction. That's why for 15 years the name Abydos reminds me and Osarion to everyone, everywhere. My God. It took 4 hours to arrive at the temple. They've laid me down in a shrine at the entrance. At the court at the entrance where the people had gathered, the high priest uttered the necessary prayers and touched my eyes and mouth. I was already able to see and hear behind the linens, so nothing changed. But I wasn't able to start talking either. My wife is nowhere to be seen. Did something happen to her? No. If that was the case, they would have brought her body with me too. I wish I could see her one last time. An indescribable weight has rained down on my heart because I couldn't see her before I got entombed. I want to shout with anger and contest. I want to command, but all I could do was hear and see. Was observe, I guess. Now in this condition, there's nothing I can command. They've closed the entrance to the temple with a temporary veil after they put me on another shrine inside the temple. Only the priests and apprentices had entered inside. Even my family wasn't allowed. This was a very important and strict rule. The opposite would desecrate the holiness of my eternal resting place. I've watched the priests while they were reopening my sarcophagus and put my mortal body onto another table. Among them, I only know the high priest personally. He had this duty for a very long time, and he was a loyal man. He had caused no problem for me during my rule. Other priests and apprentices were looking quite serious and respectful while they were working on me. I wonder, is the respect for me or for the high priest who was watching them? Mummification lasted for more than 2 more weeks. The priests worked for 4 hours a day and they've left me, so the bombs they put on me can work on my body. Oh my god, how many pages is there? Help. Is this describing the entire mummification process? My mouth is about to be mummified from the way that it's so dry. After a couple of days, I've started to crave their comings and goings, because when someone stays alone, he would run out of things to think, and then only the worries and fears remain. After the last linen had been put on me, they've put my body inside the gold sarcophagus and closed it off. And they've also put the sarcophagus inside a stone one. The face of this stone sarcophagus is also shaped as is the same shape as my mortal face. They really like repeating words. Again, my sight and my hearing are with me. It was like my eyes are now in the eyes of the exaggerated face on the sarcophagus and was seeing through them. They've lit the candles and incenses around my sarcophagus again. Each of the priests have uttered a prayer, and they've left the place one by one with reference. The moment of my ascendance must be close. Even though my heart wasn't beating, excitement filled inside. Excitement filled inside of me. Yes, I am ready to leave everything about this world behind and reunite with my ancestors. The high priest came too and said his prayers. Then he took a tankard full of mixture which he had prepared earlier and poured around my sarcophagus. Then he left too. It really is an odd feeling to watch him walk out on the long corridor of the temple and leave me here. I still haven't ascended. After a while, I've started to hear the struggle of the slaves. They must be trying to place the gigantic granite block. Granite? What is it? Granite, right? Granite block. Like, I've read these words so much that they don't seem like actual words to me anymore. Granite blocks which will seal the entrance to my temple, because the daylight coming from those parts starting to get lower. Because the daylight coming from those parts were starting to fade and fade until they've all but disappeared. Silence. I've never experienced such silence in my life. I was all alone before when I was on top of some mountain during nights far away from any city when I was a soldier. But even then, it wasn't this silence. There was the sounds of night creatures, wind, and bugs. Holy crap. But now, absolute silence. Such a crushing presence does this silence have. How can this absolute silence can be so loud in a degree that stops my thoughts in my head? Now, there are only dim lights of the candles which are burning. Since there are Since they have put the 2.5-meter long sarcophagus vertically, I can see the broad main hall of the temple in front of me, but across the hall, the corridor which the high priest walked out of and left a 1.5 hour ago is under the shadows. Light from the candles could not reach there. BC 1250. Silence. How long has it been since the high priest walked out from the corridor and candles burnt up? Months? A year? At the very beginning, the first couple of days, I was able to feel the flow of time, even though the only thing I could perceive was darkness and silence. I was able to track the flow of time for a while, but after a week, the time has lost its meaning absolutely and completely. There's something more that I didn't notice before. This horrible awareness. Why am I not able to sleep? Why am I not able to phase into my thoughts and dreams? This monumental darkness and silence have left me alone truly with myself for the first time. Something I've been hearing for years, and the fact that I know gained another meaning in my mind. But so it's 1250. About the other one, 1279. Okay, so it's been 29 years since he got mummified. Okay, 29 years. Jeez. Could this be the true intent of immortality? Stain this darkness and silence forever with awareness. How cruel of an existence is this? How long will it take for me to go insane? BC 1100. Darkness. Oh, what I wouldn't give just to see the sky, my children, my wife one more time, or to see something, anything besides this darkness, to even hear the sound of my loved ones, a bird, the flow of a river. No, even a bug crawling on the ground. How long will it take for the sounds and images to lose their meanings? When will my memories start to fade away and perish? When will those beautiful images in my mind, colors and lights, the songs which have been sang to my ears once upon a time, and the laughter of the children, when are they going to slip into nothingness? My nickname was Mary and Pta's favorites. Pta's chosen. So where was Pta? It was written Men Mats Re on my throne. Where is Ra? Oh my god. Help, help, help. 1078 visitors. How many years have passed? I don't know. Besides, why should I have to know? Humankind records the time for the things they do while they are living. Why should I do that? I believe I'm free of that need and necessity now. Yes, I don't feel like thinking about time or asking about it anymore. The uneasiness caused by the knowledge that the time is moving by somewhere that time is passing without me is now removed from my shoulders. This is an odd feeling of relief and apathy for me. My tomb is being opened again. Grave robbers, perhaps. It might be, because some of my earthly possessions are also buried with me. But now, I see that they are priests of Horus. They're here to renew my tomb, hearing their arrival and light pouring inside after they remove the granite blocks. I wasn't this happy for a long, long time. The priests' voices while they were praying, the friction sound made by brooms. Friction sound made by the brooms they're using to brush the ground, renewed and welcome light of the candles burned. Seeing that such a few things can make a person happy, such a few could be enough. I'm trying to perceive even the tiniest detail with my eyes and ears. While they're leaving again, I'm observing every speck of them. These priests are different. They're high priests too. Marks on their clothes, colors, and fabric are all different. How long has it been? Fashion of a priest's clothes is not something that changes in a few years. The candles they've burned have been faded away after a few hours, and after they sealed the entrance with granite blocks again, and my old friend, darkness, has returned. 850. Oblivion. Only thing I can do is forget again, one by one, without mercy. I'm forgetting. First, I've started to forget the faces of my daughter. They were the ones I've spent my time the least with in my family. I've succumbed in a horrible feeling of sadness and guilt because I've forgotten their faces, but anyone would have experienced the same thing if they were in my condition. Then, I've forgotten the faces of my wife and son, but worse, I've forgotten my wife's name. How will I keep existing with this shame? I can still reimagine some things I saw when I was alive, like the sky, the trees, the river. I can reimagine the sounds like I'm hearing them again, but doing this is getting harder and harder. I remember the sheep and goats, but 1 hour ago, yesterday, or last month, I've noticed that I can't remember the sounds they make. I believe it was yesterday, or maybe it was years ago. Sometimes I stare into the darkness and listen to the endless silence for hours, maybe for days, without thinking anything. This is not sleep, because I'm doing that while I'm aware of every single second, feeling the darkness and silence around me. People do not know when they're alive that how priceless it is to fall into sleep and forget yourself. Oh my god, wait, how many pages is this? There's no way. Memory of sound. It must have been years. Yes, it must have been at least 10, 15 years since it got buried. 300? I've just heard something for the first time after all these years. A sound interrupted this deep and ruthless silence. At the moment I hear it my entire the moment I hear it, my entire existence. Okay, I'm just gonna skip that. Yes, I'm enjoying those sounds which have lasted a couple of seconds. Deep snarls and attritions, probably an earthquake. Now I remember that I've heard this sound before a couple of times after I got buried. So now I've started to forget the things that occurred after my death too. What I wouldn't give to just mumble a melody. Sethos. 100. Oh, after Christ. Okay, so it's been 400 years after that. The Greeks were calling me by a name. I've liked it so much when I first heard it that I've used it for a while. Yes, I remember the feeling of that moment. But what was that name? Yes, I remember. Sethos. What was the name of the temple that I'm in? I'll remember, but I'm the one who had it built. I remember that much. My masterpiece, just like my son. My son. Since there are things that I'm still afraid to try to remember, like the names of my wife and children, I've learned to direct my mind to other topics of long time ago. My biggest fear is not being able to remember them, even if I would try. So for now, I'm hiding behind the lie that I don't remember them, because I haven't really tried. I've made many wars with, Hittitians and Syrians and Palestinians while I was trying to expand my lands. Yes, these places and the images related to them are still in my mind. So it means the war pierces so deep into mind, it makes them very hard. It makes it very hard to forget those memories. After Christ 500, Seti, Mary, and Ptah. Kingdom of Egypt was one of the mightiest kingdoms of its time because of me. It was, right? So I wonder, how are things now? I wonder what is my son doing right now? He must be very old now. I wonder if he was able to become a successful ruler like me. Me? What was my name? Oh yes, Seti, Mary, and Ptah. My ascend. I was waiting for my ascension, right? So why was I waiting? Undying death. Jeez. I wish I had been preoccupied or learnt basic mathematics early enough. After passing years inside the darkness, this wish landed on the top of my list of my real regrets. All this spare time, there's nothing to mess around or nothing to distract myself with. Oh, what secret of mathematics could have been What? Oh, what secrets of mathematics could I have been able to solve? Or I would have learned any other science, but only thing I was interested in besides wars and ruling my lands was art. Quality and quantity of art showed such a growth in my domain under my rule. I am not regretful about my interest in this life. I had lackings. I hope my son didn't follow my footsteps in my mistakes. Didn't follow my steps in my mistakes. Yeah, my awareness is bringing me quite the odd questions for years in this darkness. I wonder if the other pharaohs are also thinking the same questions in their tombs right now. The ascension, which has been foreseen by my belief, didn't occur yet, and it doesn't look like it will. Could this undying death be present in all the other tombs on the earth? Wait, hold on. I'm curious. How many more pages? Okay, almost done. Oh my god. Radiance. There. Another earthquake. Or no. Priests who came to clean my tomb again. A horrible explosion sound. What could cause such an explosion? Fireballs falling from the sky. Has the world come to an end? Who could blame me for desiring that? No, it's even worse. It's the British. it's the yeah. Clatters and friction sounds after explosion lasted for months. Yes, it must be months. Month, day, year. How foolish and necessary units, actually. At last, the granite block is being moved and the entrance to my tomb is being opened again. After how many years? 20, 50. A fiery red glow has filled inside. The source of this glow is also sizzling strongly and is on the ground right now. It looks like a candle, but its flame is not weak like a candle's. Very powerful. Must be the work of the gods. Someone is coming inside. After the bright red light. Is this it? Has my ascension arrived at last? The ones who are coming inside are humans. They have all scattered around every corner of the hall and started to examine everything, but one came towards me. He is saying something by looking at me, but I've never heard this language he's being spoken. I didn't even hear something similar to it. On the other hand, he could be talking the language I speak, because it is only natural for someone who forgets his own name to forget how to speak his own language. Quite normal with this though. Suddenly, I felt like I was remembering the feeling of laughing. Ascension. What a fool I was. While I was thinking that my son is still alive, even the grandson of my grandsons had become soil. Almost 3,000 years. Is this how much I've lost the track of time within the darkness and silence? It has been nearly a century now since my tomb has been discovered, and my sarcophagus has been brought to a place they call a museum. First they pulled me from out of my grave and did some research on my body. Then they've put me back into my sarcophagus and started to exhibit me in their museum, just like I exhibited the animals I've slayed in my palace's wall. 2018, 40 liras. It nearly took me 6 years to learn 3 of the modern world languages by watching and observing my visitors. This is the best a man can do without being able to practice and without a teacher. Thanks to the devices they called watches around me and observing the hours of visits, I've become able to track the time again. People are very advanced in science and mechanics now. The things which could have been worshipped in my time are now being carried in people's pockets. If I didn't have the time to get used to them, I would have reacted the same way. People are able to enter into the museum I'm in for 40 liras. Since many people visit here every day, it must be an insignificant price. Thanks to the guides who came here and talk every day, I've remembered when I was born, names of my wife and children, even my mother's name. No, I've learned them again. I'm embarrassed while I'm listening to the guides that are telling my life to the visitors. They know the things about my family much better than me, and my life as well. If only they would know how important to me these crumbs of knowledge I learned from them that they repeat every day with boredom before me. Remembering these priceless pieces of knowledge and appreciate their true value this time. This must be my ascension. Men mat re, eternal is the justice of Ra. this was just a whole bunch of reading. Oh my god. Is that it? Clearly not. Surely not, right? Right? Sometimes stories may change when you visit them a second time or after you visit a story. So to discover passages, you should be visiting the old stories periodically. So take your time. So they do change. Hold up. They do change. Hold up. That's the same. That's the same. No, that's the same. Maybe it's not the same. I'm tripping my, like, I don't know. Wait, that's different, isn't it? Is that different? All the more if there are black clouds on the sky or it's raining. If you have a weight on your heart or you're longing for something, turn back without even glaring at the willow tree. There's nothing you would find there that is relevant to happiness. Did I read that? I don't remember if is that new? This is like Exit 8 all over again, except I have to reread passages of a book. Alright, well, I think this about wraps it up for a Whispering Tome. I think it's a very interesting idea to have the passages change as you're reading through them, or after you read through them. It's just a lot of reading, especially if I have to play this game. There's a couple of spelling errors, and stuff, grammatical errors, syntax, and all that stuff. So honestly, I could like, you could ask me and I would gladly proofread it, or ask anyone and they could proofread it. I'm also confused by the sheer amounts of differences. One is 9 pages, one is 37 pages. Like, that is insane. Like, that is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous difference. Yeah, so other than that, like, I think it's a cool concept. I just don't know if I would actually play this as an actual game, just because it's a lot of reading, and it's a lot of reading, and like yeah. Oh, okay. While you're reading, you may encounter some sentences that should not be there. Oh, I see. That should not be there. So you have to hover over them? Oh. Oh, well, that's not great. I should have recognized that before. Okay. Oh, geez. I'm gonna maybe try it, but also that's hard, dude. That's hard. You have to hover over 3 seconds. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to, like, hover over something for 3 seconds, but that's so long. Yeah, this is, help. Searching passages. If your aim is, you can take notes. Okay. I don't think I'm gonna take notes of it, just because. Oh boy. Now, if you're interested in maybe figuring out the differences for yourself and all that stuff, yeah, feel free to try out the demo for yourself. And yeah, because I read way too much text today and my mouth is so dry. So yeah, if you're interested in this game and you're interested in trying to find sort of the differences and seeing how this game actually truly works when you're hovering your cursor over text for about 3 seconds and seeing how everything changes and all that stuff, yeah, feel free to try out the demo and all that stuff. I do think that is genuinely a very interesting concept, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. And there's it's gonna be hard, I think, to really find the differences, all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when and where you are. And see you guys next time. Bye bye. See you and take care. Bye.